See the outline change right here. Okay. Seeing what's good with everybody. Seeing what's good with the folks in the lokes. I see they changed the new setup on YouTube. Woo-hoo-hoo. Hey, makes it a little bit easier. That's good. You already know right here where what is today? Is Trouble Tuesday? No, Trouble Thursday. Thirsty Thursday. You already know. Decided to hop on, chop it up with the individuals. See what's the talk of the town is going down. The one in the curvy Herbie. Whoopsie. Get new options. That's pretty cool. In Southern California, we are having a beautiful day. It is no longer raining, so we are having a lovely day. Mr. Pasta is definitely up in the casa for the raza. What's cracking like in loco? What's good, my boy? ¿Qué dice la buena vida? Just messing right here with my settings. I see I have a new bunch of gadgets and gizmos and whatnot, so trying to see what is what now. Ran to one of the Pasadena fools I met on the streets. Good vibe. That's good, my boy. Eso es todo, carnal. Yeah, I feel you. It's good to run into gente from the ghetto doing good. Yeah, I feel you, bro. I feel you. People that could that you can how can I say, like, recognize with, right? People that understand where you come from and how you live. Like, I feel you, 100. People you can relate to, pues. Especially when it comes from your area. You know? That's just a bond that, humans in general, will always feel towards somebody, that can relate to them. Especially if they're in a new scenery or something like that, right? Because off the bat, it already creates some kind of understanding. It happens with a lot of people with sports. As a matter of fact, también. A lot of people tend to bond over sports. What's cracking like in Dash Pool? What's good, my loke? Huh? What are your thoughts on the NYC rapper? With the hoodie? Boogie with the hoodie? Which rap is he the one that does? I don't know. Maybe I do know him. Maybe I just need to be like, I need to refresh my memory. Is he the one that raps that Boogeyman song? Or am I tripping? What are your thoughts on Chris Brown and the allegations against him regarding Rihanna? That he put hands on her? Or what exactly are we talking about? And also allegations Kendrick brought against Drake. No. See, the ones that he brought about Drake, those were not allegations because there's proof. There's proof. There's video proof. There's video proof, with audio and everything. So those are not allegation. That is actually proof. There's facts. And he can't deny those facts because in the video, he acknowledges that, that it was wrong. And he acknowledges that, her being underage, and he acknowledges the whole situation, right? But he still went ahead and groped her and kissed her. So those are not allegations. You know what I mean? That's actually facts. Sings the song Drowning. It came out. I'm not too aware. I'd probably have to hear the song. Yeah, putting hands on her. Yeah, you. I mean, I can see that coming from Chris Brown. He seems like an individual that feels like he's entitled, right? If somebody gets out of line, right, or not listening to what he has to say, he'll tend to lash out. He thinks people are beneath him. Yeah, I could see him having that to him. Now, I'm not going to say that he's a woman beater, right? Because I don't know if there's been prior incidents to that or incidents after that, right? So I won't go ahead and say that he's an actual woman beater, right? Because, well, just because, one time that it was said, right, doesn't automatically mean that that's what he is. Did you lose respect for Drake after you saw that? Oh yeah, for sure, 100%, yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't have respect for him as it is like that, right? Because not to say that I disrespected him or I didn't like him, right? But I just wouldn't give him much thought, right? But that definitely was like, man, this guy's a weirdo. Hi, bro. How's your day? Good. How about yourself? How's your day going? I hope everybody's having a lovely day. Could the team press charges against Drake for financial gain from the? Well, I don't think she's seen it in that way, right? Because she was young, right? I think she even came out and gave a statement saying that she wasn't tripping, that it was all good. She didn't know why people were making it a big deal, but of course she's gonna say that, right? Because of her age, right? They don't. Normally when they're underage like that, right, and they idolize people like Drake, right, they don't understand what's happening, right? They don't understand that they're being taken advantage, right? Him damn well knowing, because he's an adult, knowing that this girl probably idolizes him, probably looks up to him, is a fan of his music. So he should have already known that, this girl's pretty much on a love spell, towards him, right? And instead of doing the right thing and choosing to, just, hey, thank you for being a fan. Hey, I appreciate it. And maybe give her an autograph or a shirt, whatever. He chose to, fucking rub himself on her and give her a kiss. Come on now, bro. That was his chance to do the right thing as a man because he knows how he's gonna look. He knows the situation, but did he give a fuck? Nah, he was just looking to get his, my boy. And that's a sad part about the situation. And plus, as it happened a while back ago already, I don't think that it would even matter. And that's probably why they didn't even ever, charge him with anything. Diddy is the goat. Diddy is the goat of what? Free cuffs? Oh yeah, bro. Baby oil? Oh yeah, for sure. Shit, ain't no debating that. What do you thought some people who say Southside recruit openly gay members? Some people like the push narrative, especially the brothers. That's fine. They can say whatever they want. Doesn't matter. If we know what's true and what's not true, then why are we gonna get worked up over it? So, if people choose to believe that, then that's on them, right? But I mean, there's a difference from people trying to push a narrative to what the narrative actually is. So, I genuinely feel that people that are actually from the streets, don't actually really think that. What about allegations Drake brought against Kendrick regarding Kendrick being a woman beater? If he's been charged for beating his woman multiple times, then facts, then those facts stick. You know what I mean? Now, when it happens one time, I'm not gonna call them a woman beater, right? Because we don't know what was the context behind the argument. We don't know what was said and done and what actually escalated. Now, not to make any excuses for a man putting his hands on a woman, right? But just because it happened once, right? Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody's pushed to the edge. So I could see, them making a mistake and then being sorry for it, right? But a beater is actually somebody who did multiple times, right? Who has actually multiple accusations against him, right? Like somebody who's, multiple women have said that this guy's put hands on them. Then yeah, that's a woman beater. The industry has been ruthless against Chris Brown since the day of the situation. If it weren't for the, would be the next Michael Jackson in terms of and success. Maybe I don't know. You know, I don't know if his music was maybe that impactful when it comes to like reaching. People have to understand Michael Jackson's status was elite, bro. He was recognized all over the world, my boy, all over the world. That guy's fucking status was high up. Chris Brown maybe was like maybe recognized and loved within the states and maybe some European areas, right? But to say as the level of Michael Jackson, I don't know about that, right? Not to take away nothing from his talents, because the individual could dance and sing and whatnot, right? But just Michael Jackson was on a whole nother level, right? Maybe because people felt his music, maybe the concepts of his music were more, relatable to some people, right? I don't know. I felt like Michael Jackson didn't have this arrogant vibe to him like Chris Brown does, right? Chris Brown tends to have this arrogant vibe to him, like him thinking he's all that in a bag of chips, while Michael Jackson came across to people more, more level grounded. By the way, I bet you didn't know this, but Drake has previously settled another lawsuit regarding sexual assault. Oh, damn. No, I did not know that. That is crazy. Well, now that video makes a whole lot more sense, right? So it was already his behavior as it is. Interesting. But like I said, I'm not a fan of his music regardless, so it's irrelevant to me. Yes, celebrity artists who kissed or did crazy stuff to their fans, and they were fine and dandy with that. Yeah, depending on what era we're talking about. Back then, it was not seen as disgusting as it is now, but that's because of the lack of research, the lack of knowledge that people have nowadays, and now we know, the psychological, portions behind everything, and what it tends to do to others, and now we understand the dynamics behind it, so we have a better grasp of the overall situations compared to before, right? So before, people just didn't have the knowledge. It wasn't schooled. People weren't schooled on it. It wasn't preached. So, people weren't aware, right? Even though it was still maybe seen, kind of questionable before, right? But now that people have the knowledge that we have now, right, and individuals for still to do that kind of stuff, it hits a whole lot different, compared to not having the information to now having the information and still not giving a fuck and doing it. You get what I mean? What are your thoughts on men who like to wear purses, dresses, makeup, and lipstick? Now, but here's the thing, though. If these are men who like to wear purses, dresses, makeup, and lipstick, would that mean that those men don't consider themselves men, though? Wouldn't they consider themselves as women? Or you mean a man who does that but still considers him to still be a man, though? Because that to me sounds like an individual that's confused then, right? He wants to be a woman, but refers to himself still being a man, though. I would figure if they would do all of that, then they would see themselves as women and want to be referred to as a woman, right? But I don't know. That's somebody that to me is just confused. Epstein is the goat of freak offs. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Because even though he was caught, I mean, at the end of the day, he managed to still keep a majority of his, forte under wraps, right? So maybe. Dance and Gunner are the death row of the two Yarda? Why did you say that, my boy? What do you think about Diddy's music wise? I mean, I really didn't hear his music. As a matter of fact, I thought he really didn't have no solo music, right? I thought he was just like the producer, the owner of the company, and the guy, who just come out and the videos, right? It wasn't even that long ago that I actually heard his actual music. I mean, it's cool, right? He had talent. I'm not gonna say that he didn't have no talent, right? He had talent. I wouldn't say to like a high level, but it was there. Epstein had his own island dedicated to PDF. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, he did. He did dedicate a whole lot of his time and money to that kind of shit. That is very true. And he was, well, no, that came with the transaction. I was going to say that he was, the type to like keep, dirt on individuals that went to his island, right? But I think they all knew that. I think it came with the whole deal, right? Like, because individuals that normally run these kind of, pedophile or underage or shit like that, they're not stupid, right? Even the ones that have like websites and stuff like that, they're not stupid. If people were to ever look into the cases where they, FBI and all of them have busted these individuals, right? There has always been some kind of you always had to give something in order for these individuals to allow you to see what they have, right? Like individuals would have to upload, their own personal maybe videos of pedophilia and shit like that, right? In order for these individuals to allow them to now come into their circle, because then it's like, what do we know if this guy's not a cop or he can report us, right? So they would have to incriminate themselves first. That way, these guys could trust them and allow them in to now see what they have, right? So it kind of came with the territory, right? Like, well, you would have to give up something in order for us to, allow you to, indulge in the reindeer games, right? Because how do we know you're not gonna go call the cops on us, right? Like that, at least they know this person won't say nothing, because if he does, I mean, he definitely incriminated himself, so he'll go down with the ship. So it allows them more now to allow that kind of behavior. So I think these individuals knew what they were getting themselves into, knew this guy was going to have dirt on them, but didn't care because they really thought that nobody was going to say anything because they would all go down, right? Like Prince Andrew, Bill Gates, Clinton, Donald Trump, the was that guy from Prince, from Saudi Arabia or whatever, and the what was it, the guy, the one from France, I don't know if he was in charge of their fucking defense or whatever the fuck, right? But he was definitely mingling with some high important people. P Diddy, the goat of. Diddy was a goat of slip and slide? Fuck. I had a question. I don't know if you can answer the internet, but why don't gangs allow openly gay members, but they say outside of the streets they have no problem with gay people? Like, what do you mean? Like, you see, it's different from you saying that, okay, you don't give a fuck about what people do, like you don't give a fuck about who they want to sleep with and stuff like that, but now you're allowing a member into your group, right? Is those individuals tend to work differently. One, I wouldn't even think that they would actually want to become a part of anything like that, right? Just because the way their thought process is, right? It just works different, right? Compared to somebody who's actually wants to indulge in criminal activity and stuff like that, right? But how can you trust them, right? Would be the main component to this. How do you know when shit hits the fans, they're not going to tell and stuff like that, right? It just makes them not reliable. Because when it comes to, like, being feminine or being, an individual who just, lost in testosterone, Chris Brown made Rihanna get a tattoo. Damn, my boy. That is savagery. Hmm. Is that what the tattoo means? Let us find out now. That is crazy. I don't know. By the way, the guy who owns the house that was renting in Hollywood hired a private investigator to investigate the crime. Yeah, it looks like the doors are starting to close in on that guy. I mean, the walls are starting to close in on that guy. Hello. What's good? What can a private investigator even do in this situation? Kind of find out what the law enforcement knows and leak it out there. Remember, being a private investigator, they can actually go to the police stations and actually get some of those documents and some of the evidence that they already know and actually throw it out there. They do have the credentials for that. Well, depending on the states, it also depends on the state, right? Some states are more, hush hush about that kind of stuff, right? They'll have to go through more legal, hoops, for that information to get thrown out there. But some states will allow these individuals to get a hold of that information the stuff that they already like they know right now, and just throw it out there. That's why, law enforcement doesn't tend to see eye to eye with private investigators because it feels like some of them, tend to hinder their cases like that. I have a feeling King Von and Dirk could have been bigger than Tupac or Biggie in rap music. Maybe, I don't know. I can't say that that's not true, or because I don't know. I can't tell the future, right? So maybe, who knows? I have I don't know why, but I just think like I don't think so because back then people weren't so quick to judge music like how they do now, right? Like Tupac and Biggie were more acceptable back then, right? Because people really didn't see the gang culture and the rap, gangster rap, and all that, and the light that they do now, right? Nowadays, these individuals, if Tupac and Biggie were to still be alive, they would have completely have to change their whole entire style because their style wouldn't be effective nowadays. Commercials, companies wouldn't fuck with them. They wouldn't get as much sponsorships. They wouldn't get as much limelight like people do nowadays, right? How do we know this? Because even rappers like Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, and everything had to clean up their rap act in order for them to even get some type of publicity. So because now people feel differently about the music than they did before. So I feel like maybe they would have got a buzz, but maybe not a big buzz like theirs, right? Because people just see rap music differently now. I invested in rap and glitcha. I don't like men like that. Those acts like a being told, but says he's a podcaster. Yeah, it's a trip. I don't know. Yeah, some of the men who do stuff like that, wear purses, makeup, consider themselves to be men who just like to do that kind of stuff. That's strange. I don't. But how is that possible though? Like the two don't go together though. Like that just doesn't make any sense. I think they're just confused. It's kind of like the website where drug dealers find the customers and they have to make sure that the undercover codes are trying to bid. Yeah, you always want to make sure. They're gonna make sure. So Al Capone and the wife Armenian asked me for the glitcha. Damn, serio? The outfit mob. So Daniels had openly gay members. I mean, people could think that, right? But I mean, thinking that and actually it being that is two completely different things, though. But like I said, people can think whatever they want. It's it doesn't. It is what it is, pues, como dicen. Gay people. Because look, as soon as individuals find that these, like, not to say that individuals can't be gay, right? But as soon as individuals find out that somebody is gay, they're most likely gonna be, given the boot, right? They're gonna be outcast and they're gonna be, jumped out or they're gonna be pushed out or whatever the fuck, right? So, can you really say that there's members that are gay or that are homosexual if, as soon as the neighborhoods find out, they're no longer accepted, so they are no longer a member of that gang, they are no longer gang members? So, how can you say that that is accepted if it's not allowed? You feel me? Like saying that it is allowed is if the gang accepts and allows it to happen, right? Like it accepts these members being, homosexual and allows them to still continue to be a member. That is them being, open and willing, right? But if they're giving the boot as soon as they find out, then clearly it's not accepted. So they're, you know, um, are gangsters allowed to hire private investigators, or would it be considered snitching? Like if they're trying to find out, no, a gangster would do it. Would do the investigation themselves. Bundles, Adria or donuts from a donut shop. Depending what I'm in the mood for. Bandulce is good, but donuts are good too. It just depends on. You're always crying about something. In serio? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just answering the questions on YouTube, my guy. It is not that deep. Kelly don't bump like that. It was bumping Chief Keef in there. I have a Hoover homie that was bumping. Those American comedians had to clean up their comedy act when they sold out. Whose UNC is this? Somebody else. Just like the big homies used to have punks. I mean, like I said, some people will say some stuff, right? But just because some individuals claim, some things, I mean, doesn't make it true, right? You have to understand that also individuals that feel some type of way or were giving the boot or, you know, don't really like these individuals, right? Because they're no longer a part of that association or don't really care for these individuals. So they'll tend to come and try to discredit them or come say some stuff, right, to make them look bad because that's just them being in their feelings, right? But it doesn't automatically make it true just because they come and said it, right? A lot of people come and always give some type of narrative. There's trolls that are trying to push the case on a new narrative and get on your nerves. Oh, I know that, bro. Like it will never bother me. Stuff like that never bothers me. Like, trust me, I could always see when people come and they offend and they say stuff. It never rattles me though. Like, I don't get offended when people try to come and peddle, narratives because I can see what they're trying to do. You know. Like when I know something is not true, it never bothers me because I can see and realize, well, what's happening. I don't get in my feelings. Like I said, I'm not egotistical. Maybe if I had an ego, that would definitely blind me from what was happening, right? Because I would try to hammer home my narrative. But that's the thing. Like, I'll never come and argue with the internet, though. Like, I'm not gonna argue with people and try to convince them of something, right? Like, they can believe whatever they want. It's irrelevant to me. Like, it is not that serious, right? It's just the internet. I really don't know why people get all worked up. They were from a beach city. The vato came out rapping in makeup. ¿En serio? That was like convinced me I'm easy. Oh, there. Nah, like people could feel and think however they want. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna come and try to persuade them of anything. Like if I know what the truth is, why would it matter? Like it doesn't matter. It's not gonna change the narrative. It's not gonna change anything. Because people can think what they want, but thinking how something is compared to how it actually is two different things. It's not gonna change anything on this side. It's not gonna move. You know what I mean? So it's irrelevant. Because at the end of the day, no matter what people say, no matter what you do, what you say, and what proof you bring, people are gonna think whatever they're gonna want to think. And it's like whatever helps them sleep at night. I'm not gonna come and try to. Like if I actually know how something is, I'm not gonna come and fucking bicker all day and try to. You think OTF rapper like and Vaughn makes some of the best music right now? Some of the best music right now? Yeah, their beat selection was good. I haven't really heard their music like that to say that some of the best music right now, right? I would have to go and actually listen to some of it more, right, in order for me to give my opinion on it. But so far, from what I have heard, yeah, they make some pretty good music. I ain't gonna lie, especially their beats. I bet someone got checked for the music video. I have no idea. Do you even know the rumor? No, I don't pay attention to stuff like that. There's also another talent rapper. I'm coming at you, bro. Oh, in serio? Don't panic. Don't hyperventilate. Which mainstream rapper is blowing up right now? Chicano, or you mean just in general? FD is trash. P-Face is trash. Well, I'm not gonna go ahead and say that they're trash because they do have a fan base. They do get views. They do have people that support their music and like their music, right? They do get a buzz because if they wouldn't be as on the pedestal as they are, right? So I can't say that their music is trash because obviously there's people that like it, right? And obviously people are not gonna like stuff that's trash, right? But I will say this though, I don't think that they're the best of Chicano rap, nor do I think that their music is perfect. I feel like they can improve a lot. I feel like there's still a lot of work that needs to be done within, their music and their flows. But these are just my opinions. Like I said, I mean, it's working for them regardless of who the fuck am I, right? But in my personal opinion, I feel like their music does need more work, right? But like I said, I mean, it's what they're doing is working for them because, like I said, I mean, people are hearing and watching and shit like that, right? Um, but these are just my opinions, right? Because I feel like there's, other Chicano rappers that are better, and their music is more polished compared to theirs, right? But that's not to take away anything because obviously what they're doing is working for them. Do you do free cuddles? No, I'm happily married. Everyone thought Lefty was the Chicano rap savior. I think what people like about Lefty is his image, the way he looks, his tattoos and everything. I think that's what people home in on, right? Especially non-people who are not from the streets, right? They tend to home in on stuff like that, right? Um, this idea of what people think a gangster should look like or what it actually looks like, I think that's what people concentrate on. But yeah, I feel like there's rappers that have been more talented, right? And they don't get no love, right? But it is what it is, in my opinion. Your Shadow are better than a lot of the mainstream rappers. Nah, bro, I suck too. But it's alright, because I don't think that I'm all that in a bag of chips, though. It's just a hobby. Swifty was better than Lefty, but I am not gonna lie. If I was to say who's a better rapper, I would say that Swifty is a better rapper than Lefty. This is very true. Now that has nothing to do with being more gangster or putting work or nothing like that. If we're talking just sheerly based on rap skills and music, I feel like Swifty has more skills and than Lefty, right? And that's not to take away anything or to throw shots, right? It's just how I see the matters, right? Because I feel like Swifty gives his music more attention than Lefty, right? Because, um, you could just hear it in the raps and in the quality. Um, they just get clout on beat that shit. Lefty was a Pelican Bay from. Yeah, but I don't. But see, all that street reputation and everything that's different from music, though. Music is, uh, like somebody could suck at rapping, but just because they did all the time and everything like that shouldn't mean that people should excuse the quality of the raps. So why couldn't? All right, ladies and gentlemen, my lunch break is over. We got to get back to this. Good chopping it up with you guys, and we out.